Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody's trickling in. We'll give it a couple minutes. We won't start the recording yet. How's everybody doing? Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear it. What's up, Homa? Hey, Maurice. Amazing. Beautiful. Derek. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Hope everybody's Thursday is treating them well. We'll do a little quick recap as people are coming on in. Appreciate you guys taking some time out of your busy schedules. Everybody's summer, a lot going on. Absolutely, my pleasure, my pleasure. I'll try to bring it, get it started. That way we don't go over. What's up, Connor? Aaron, what's up, Ohio? Yeah, everybody say where you're tuning in from. That way we can show everybody all the love. JIFU International. People coming in from Calvin's meeting, maybe that he's been doing for the business overview. Coming on over to the real estate side for a little bit. All right. Denver, Colorado. What's up? Hey, hey. Eastvale, always repping. I love it. I love it. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. So today, guys, we'll do like a quick recap, maybe a couple minutes, and then we're going to get into the offer process. I think it's one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people is, you know you can make money in real estate. If you just found the right deal, you could probably move forward, but that offer is the thing that actually holds most of us up in some way. It could be qualifications. It could be just the process in general is foreign to most. So if anybody has written an offer on real estate or had somebody write an offer for them, put a 1 in the chat. If you've never written an offer in real estate, don't know anything about it.
Recording in progress.
I'm going to do recording now so I don't forget. Okay, so ones, people writing offers. I know some real estate agents on the call, so they're familiar with the process. I myself had to dust off some skills because I have transaction coordinators, and a lot of them are way better at structuring offers because when you put those offers together, oftentimes as a real estate agent, you want to stay focused on big picture items, making sure, certain check boxes are marked and things like that. And if you're the one doing all the ins and outs, sometimes you're what they call in the weeds, and it's difficult to go, okay, wait a minute. What are those big things I missed? And, we've seen people miss, big negotiation items. We're going to talk about inclusions and exclusions, fixtures versus items that could be removed. So some of those things that, especially if you're the one writing the offer, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to whoever's doing that. But if you're the one actually doing it, you might be sending 8 offers out, a handful of offers out, and it could get a little, redundant or confusing. So the more the help, the better. But that's where things like this is really going to help just reestablish, have a really good platform for education in real estate, making sure you guys are connected. And then next week's going to be fun. What's up, Calvin? See him in the chat here. We're going to be going to the Vidanta Resort in Puerto or Nuevo Vallarta. And so we're going to be coming at you live next week on a JIFU resort vacation, little mastermind with a little team we put together. So we're going to be bringing that for you guys. So I'm going to jump into, just because I don't want to go a little over like we did last time, kind of where we started. I know there's some people in the chat that said they had some 1s and were familiar with the process, which is amazing. So we started off last week where we talked about some of the terms, the definitions. We got the recording on that. We did talk about some of the reporting that goes into the process, mortgage and deeds. We touched on title a bit. We definitely dove into the roles, listing agents and buyers agents and dual agency. So what's crazy about all this is there's lots of ways to make money in real estate. And a lot of people we talked about in the chat last time was wholesaling. You know, buzzword, you don't even need a license to do it. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it's a little bit of a hindrance. So that's some of the things we're gonna dive into today. And yes, appreciate that, Calvin. A little bit about me as well is I've been doing this for 20 years. I've ran a team of 200 consistently. I now run a team of 50 go-getters. We actually made it a little bit less because we wanted to focus on top producers in the industry. But to note, I've probably trained 50% or so of the people that I work with in the industry in Southern California, or I mastermind or work with them in some capacity. So it's pretty cool, the pedigree that we've had. I've sold over 10,000 homes directly with my team and myself. And the difference about brokers or team leads is a lot of them get to a point where they're not producers anymore. They get to the point where their day is structured so much with administration and management that it doesn't really give them the opportunity to produce and work with clients. I'm a little bit different in that regards. I still do trainings like this. I still give back. I do a lot of masterminding with my agents and investors, but I also make sure I work with clients because I want to stay in the game. I want to be consistently helping people like you and people on my team to continue to not only, you know, maximize and do really good service and be excellent at the job that they do, but also find new engaging ways to do business, leverage AI, be able to use different tools or funnels or formulas to extend and maybe put more money in their clients' pockets and their pockets, and be able to do it even more often. So going over, you know, the seller's agent is the listing agent working for the sellers where it all originates. The buying side, also called the selling agent. These are just fancy smancy terms that you can use when you're talking to everybody knows their local realtor. And now you're going to know kind of a little bit about how they do business, because in your businesses and probably your real estate ventures, it's going to cross a lot with business opportunities that you can do. So where we dove in, or where we stopped last time, was basically the offer process. And jumping into that, I wanted to just go into the chat. Anybody have any questions so far before we dive into the offer? Give me a 777 if you guys are pumped up and ready to learn a little bit of new material, but I don't want to leave anybody behind. If you guys have any questions before we go, 777s, love it, love it. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate. I'm going to answer most of them at the end. But to keep momentum, if we're kind of going through it, I do want to layer in your experience and keep it really tailored. Yes, we're going to have this as a PDF. It's going to be shared. I think the JIFU portals are going to have these recorded, and then I'll also have that as well. So you guys can link up with me on any of my socials, and then I'll find a way. I'll link up with Calvin and the JIFU team to see how we can get it for you guys on PDF. Oh, Josh, you going to say something? Okay. So we'll figure out how to get it for you for sure. But yeah, this is going to be ongoing, and we're going to make sure you guys have it as a resource in the training. All right. So jumping into the offer process, we want to make sure that, you know, look, anybody can write a deal and see if it sticks, right? What we really want to do is focus on the education process. You guys know if it's a great deal and it's going to turn into a bidding war, and there's going to be a lot of things that come up with it. You know, that's going to be its own animal, so to speak. But I wanted to go into how you can consistently write those offers and really have a good basis for it. So let's click right on in this. And then this is all, again, interactive. And I'm trying to make it where you're going to be able to reference in. They say the best resource is resourcefulness. And it's actually pretty crazy that most people don't use the information at hand when they run into something of how they want to structure them being able to accomplish whatever said tasks are going. So what we talked about last time was the pre-approval for a mortgage, right? We wanted to talk about staying, in your price point that most fits what you're going to be looking after. And the reason for that is because, we went on Zillow last time. Let's just jump into that right now. Let's go Newport Beach homes for sale. So we did this last time, and we go in and we start seeing, we'll jump into Zillow again. And we start seeing some of the beautiful homes, right? And we start seeing, okay, well, this one's 2 million, this one's 3 million. Let's try and find a little bit more affordable one. Not really affordability in Newport these days. Okay, here we go, 200,000. So this is a really affordable house. There's probably something going on with it. Could be a timeshare. Harcourts is a bidding. Basically how they run a lot of their brokerages, they start at a low bid and they bid it up. So another cool thing to know, but maybe something a little bit more normal and traditional, is this Coldwell Banker one on Yorktown for 600. So someone's saying, okay, well, what's the difference between a $600,000 house and a $900,000 house? And that's going to be where you get pre-approved. So when you get pre-approved, you want to make sure you're going within your budget. So it's okay if you're starting out and it's your first step and this is the first house you're going to buy, but maybe it's your second, third, fourth. Maybe it's something that you're moving up. Maybe you're going into a location, a school district you really want. Maybe you're just doubling the size of your house because you're going to be working from home and entertaining, and it makes sense for you to do that. So what you want to do is you want to find that budget and make sure you get pre-approved. Now, what I always recommend is going to a wholesale lender. A wholesale lender is a little bit different than a retail lender. Retail would be your bank, okay? Retail is going to be someone who is going to be facing directly to the retail, where a wholesale is going to be like a mortgage banker. It's going to be someone that all they do is lending, specifically mortgage lending for real estate. And so what they're going to have access to is their own pricing sheet, their own abilities to do variations of full doc homes, minimum doc loans, maybe first-time home buyer, grants. And the reason that this is so powerful is because you want to make sure, and we're going to dive into this later when it comes into some of the programs, but in California, there's a Dream for All program. And what that program would do is give you 20%. California would give you 20%, but they would do an equity share, right? So the cool part about that is you don't need to come up with the 20%, right? Let me see if I can actually pull it up for you guys so that way we're not talking about it. We are doing it. Program. So what happened on this one is there's some limitations about, and it's not currently, here we go. So this one right here, and I won't get too much into it. It's just a CalHFA program that state came up with, and they, I think, used $200-300 million in a matter of 2 weeks. And what they did is they're saying, okay, for 20% down, we're basically going to gift that to you as a first-time home buyer. And the way that that's going to work is over the time when you go sell your house, we're going to do an equity share. And when you sell that house, that 20% that we gave you, we get to split that 20% in equity and we get it back. So if you make $100,000, that 20,000 that it appreciated goes back to them with no interest or nothing else paid. That 80 comes back to you. So what's really cool about that is OPM, other people's money, right? You want to leverage you being able to go in to buy your first house. So I'm going to go take a quick pause. Can anybody tell me, and I'm going to answer these questions right after. Can anybody tell me what you think happened to California real estate when the state for 2 to 3 weeks said they were giving away a free 20% to everybody buying a house? Can anybody put what happened to the real estate market? It went up. It went crazy. Evan, you nailed it. So it exploded, D. Yes. So you are all right. Blew up. This is what happened. So the reason you want to know about being a buyer in this pool or an investor in this pool is A, if you're an investor, it is the time to sell, right? You know people are going to be buying that house if it's anywhere near in that affordability range, okay? And that income bracket, which I would say everything up to maybe about $1 million, $1.5 million, right? If you were a buyer, it went crazy. So what happened is we went, it hit social media, it hit the airwaves, it hit news outlets. It absolutely exploded real estate. And what's going to happen right now, and why I'm bringing it up, is not to tell you guys something old, but they're about to bring it back. And it hasn't come out yet. It's going to be probably in the next couple of weeks, probably when they raise the interest rates one more time, that they're going to bring it back in order to spark that California real estate to happen. So you want to get plugged into whatever programs or grants are available in your area, and you want to dig into that data, because although the money is great and although the program is amazing, you want to make sure your timing hits at the right point. Because if you go pay, let's say 10% more for the house, you still got to give that 20% back. So you could just be overpaying for a property, right? They said the first time in the last few years, home prices have more than 100% appreciated, right? And it's now outpaced any historical data in terms of the amount houses are worth today. And so there's a huge, basically with limited inventory and low interest rates locked into, with investors owning it, that it's just going to keep going up. Who knows if that's the case, but you don't want to buy at the spike, right? So knowing what's going to be that right fit for you, how long it's been on the market, the current owner that lived there. So I'll give you some of the strategies that we used. We started looking at some houses that came on the market right away. Most of them had dozens of offers, if not more than a dozen. And it was really difficult to compete because a lot of the cash people are going to come through, not the people that are using grant programs, right? And if the people that are using grant programs, maybe they're overpaying for it, and the person that's advising them isn't advising them correctly. So you might not get that one. The ones that have been on the market for a longer time, those were a little bit more susceptible to a price decrease or having a little bit of wiggle room, but those all started selling as well. So the difference that you want is you want to know the indication, and you don't want to get caught buying the worst type of property. So if you're starting to look at the neighborhood, the amenities, the location, when people talk about location, or school districts, you can't replace if it's a bad school district. You probably can't replace if it's a really bad location, especially if it's a major street corner or something that might be not desirable in terms of where people want to live, right? Those things are inherent to the actual property itself. And you want to know that that's the next step in order to being able to offer correctly on that house, right? Because we haven't even put pen to paper at this point. So you don't want to spend all this time and go offer it something that isn't going to be the right fit. So now you get to researching that home, knowing the market, knowing the comps, a lot of the things that you can provide, which let's say going into a house like this, they're going to give you, and I'll jump in here, they're going to give you other options and homes for sale. Okay, so right off the bat, we're in Newport. I'm like, wow, it's an amazing house, $600,000. It's a manufactured home. So one of the differences is your home is going to look like this right here. Okay. Still nice, still beautiful, but you have a carport. Okay. You're going to lease your land. You don't own it. And you live in a manufactured home park in Newport Beach. So it's still nice, but this is for a set type of buyer, someone that either has owned a lot of homes and is looking to just downsize. But as you can see right here, 47 saves, 885 views, and 4 days on the market. So just to give you a little bit of what you can do in any market that you're in right now, as you can see, I'll move this right over here, is that you can see what's going on with some of the historical stuff that happened here. So it's going lower, it's going lower. That home is quite a bit cheaper, about 3 years ago, right? and it spiked up in 2020, almost about when COVID was, right? And then bam, like we had a huge spike, and then it kind of got back a little bit in normal here. Maybe there was a sell in the area. This probably wasn't actually what happened in the market. It was probably a really big sell, impacted whatever Zillow's data that they're picking up right now. And then it went back to its normal pools here. So right now at 600, right off the bat, I don't need to be a real estate agent. I just need to know a little bit of what this graph shows me is that I'm buying at a would-be peak, right? So by knowing this, it's got to be either a really nice unit, which it appears to be, updated fixtures. It does look a little bit more modernized. It definitely more of a timeless type look, but you're paying a little bit of a more timeless price there. So also going in, I can look right here, right? And I can see, so as a realtor or an agent that's working for my clients, I'm diving in and I'm finding this information on the MLS. But a lot of the times I go back to these sites because I want to see what these sites are showing my client or showing other people, right? So right here, you can see on February 9th, my birthday, on 2022, it was listed at $449. Then it was price changed to $425, $399. Then it sold at $365 about a year and a half ago, right? About a year ago. And so at $365, there is probably a pretty good story that I would want to know of why it's 600,000, right? So these are the types of things that you want to do real world in knowing that you're sticking to your budget, because you might say, oh, hey, that's great, but we want to find out, well, why is that so much of a price increase? And is that really something that you want to get into, right? We talked about earnest money last time. We talked about knowing your deposit. I have a rule of thumb on your deposit. As soon as it goes out of your account, it's not yours. However, in California, when your deposit is covered by your contingencies, okay? So going right into your earnest money deposit, it used to be a thing where, let's say you're an investor or you're putting out offers. You can write those offers, but you really don't want to be sending out deposits until you know that contract is solid, until you know that you're truly going into escrow, and within a certain fixed time frame, you're going to be closing. If not, if something's in the air, meaning you haven't done your due diligence on an item, maybe you're not even sure, you can write that offer, but you don't want to put that deposit out there until you're absolutely certain that you want to be in an escrow with someone, because now there's going to be things that they're going to do to be able to try to keep that deposit. I'm going to take a quick break here, just see how everybody's doing, and I'm going to check the chat. Oh, is the screen showing for everybody or not everybody? Can I get a 777 if it's showing everybody's good? 777, I love it, I love it. Just want to make sure. And then I want to just go back in. Yes, I love it. Just trying to take it. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna go right now too. So perfect, everybody sees my screen. So yes, so if you're conducting real estate and I'll just take a quick little break on this. If you're conducting real estate and you're actually talking about commissions, price points, if you're talking about negotiations of anything that has a monetary value, then you're required to have a real estate license, okay? If you're not doing it on your own behalf, okay? If you're a for sale by owner, meaning you're doing it on your own property or you do it on your own behalf, you don't necessarily need a license. Just know that you don't really know how to actually do it as well with the things that people have that are licensed as well. So you're taking on a lot of liability. If you're doing and you're doing anything that's quoting prices, you can actually get fined, and you can actually have liability, especially because you're dealing with a lot of money in real estate circumstances if you're not licensed. So when it comes to making money in real estate, I always tell people, get a license. Like, you can always get it, right? One of the reasons I went nationwide with my business is because we're in every state, and you can plug into a network that gets you up and running to make money, right? Now, if you're in the wholesale game, maybe you're a developer, maybe you're a builder or a contractor. Let's say you're a roofer, or let's say, you're a tradesman, and those tradesmen, let's say solar guys, they could be sitting on 300-400 grand and they're going to go buy some real estate. You don't necessarily need to be licensed, right? Just like I'm not going to install my own solar on my house. I would advise my solar guys, don't do their real estate by themselves. Get someone that actually knows what they're doing, link up with them, and then make sure they work really hard for you to get you a great deal, right? And so if you're bringing more to the table than you're taking from it, you're always going to be in a good spot. But yes, we're going to be talking about getting licensed. I just want to make sure in the beginning here, we're talking about a good solid foundation. Whether you're licensed or not, I'm trying to get people in that maybe might be newer to the industry, giving you a great foundation, and then people that maybe have been in the industry, just reminding you of some of the things that you probably have already learned, and unlocking maybe one or two nuggets or different ways of doing it. From state to state, it could vary, and be able to refresh that and make it your own. So those contingencies, we talked about this quite a bit last time, but you're going to have that home inspection, you're going to have that appraisal, you're going to have the financing. You're going to be able to, a lot of times, if you're buying another property, you're going to have that home sale contingency. That's one that's going to be important and in place. If you guys want to go into contingencies a little bit more, there is a previous recording that we have that went into this a lot more detail. Okay. And then when you're going to write that initial offer, you're going to want some of the things. These are kind of the meat and potatoes of that offer. These are some of the things that you want to know. So depending on that price point, your earnest money deposit is 1 to 3% of the purchase price. Sometimes if the market isn't really geared towards sellers, you can get away with 1%. If it's turned into a seller market, which just basically means there's less inventory. In a buyer's market, there's more inventory. The buyers control the scenarios. So what we're seeing right now locally is in the lower price points, it's a seller's market. In the higher price points, it's still a bit of a buyer's market. There's definitely a premium there, and there's definitely you're paying for that, but you're seeing property move a little bit slower, and just because of the qualifications in general and the state of the economy, that higher end price points lasting a little bit longer. You want to make sure that you're getting the correct address. It seems easy, but when you go to title, everything's associated with its own APN or parcel number. And you know what? Let me see if I can. We'll go into that another time because I don't want to eat up all the time on that. But I'm going to go into that next time when we recap, showing you guys an APN, giving you guys some of the ins and outs of making sure that you're actually making the correct offer with the right address, because I've seen it happen more than once that even those simple things are missed. And if there is a disagreement in the contract, sometimes it could be pretty costly, right? You want to make sure that your offer and your down payment are going to be exactly what you want and going to give you that loan that you're qualified for. You're going to put in any contingencies because there's certain contingencies that are going to be standard for the contract, and there's certain contingencies that are not in the contract, right? So you want to make sure that we're going to highlight those a little bit more, but since we dove into contingencies so much last time, you're just going to want to make sure that you address that, right? The seller concessions and closing costs. We're going to dive into this a little bit more. So we went through a lot of these items right here. When you're going to be going through your contingencies, it's important to know in that contract, and we went through a little bit of this, so I'm going to skip just a tiny bit before I come back to those fees and closing costs, okay? And your move-in date. So we're going to skip down a little bit. I'm going to cover this on a little bit of a recap, but I think we went through a little bit of it. So when you're doing that purchase agreement, you're including those buyers and sellers' names, the property information. I put a little bit of this right on the PDF for you guys, so that way it's easy to see, okay? But we're going to scroll down right here to these closing costs. So I put this one in here specifically for this to get you guys closing cost is probably one of the biggest shockers of people when they're going in to buy some real estate. And the reason for that is because your closing costs, a lot of times you're looking to see, oh, well, I'm putting 10% down. So, I take the purchase price, I multiply that by 10%, bam. And that's not really what happens, right? So there's a range of services that you're going to pay in those closing costs, and you're going to have different types of fees that are going in. So some of them are state specific. It's basically 1 to 2% of your purchase price that your closing costs, and some of those costs are shared by the buyers and sellers. Okay, and the reason for that is because the buyer is going to pay their lending costs, and the seller is going to pay their agency costs. So see right here where it says 6 to 10% for that seller side. That's often because they're paying their escrow, their title, and also their agency fees, which could be 2%, 3% per side, right, for the buyers and the sellers. Now, the buyers are going to pay slightly less, but in the interest rate market where they're paying more, it could be a little bit higher as well. So they're paying all their lending costs, plus they're also paying the closing costs for title and escrow. And that's where you kind of get into it stacking up pretty quickly. So if you haven't really done your due diligence in making sure that you're seeing the closing costs that you have all stack up from your lending side, or making sure that your realtor that you're working with has kind of ballparked those fees for you, when it comes time to actually look at those costs, it can stack up. So like I said, on the seller side, you have the realtor commissions, which basically paying for the agents that are representing both sides. Okay. Right now, there's a huge lawsuit with the National Association of Realtors. And that lawsuit against NAR is basically saying that it's kind of a monopoly or price fixing the way that we currently have it set up in the market. I don't know what we're going to do if that comes through and the contract for agency that gives the buyer's commission doesn't hold up. But that's a huge multi-trillion-dollar lawsuit if it comes through. So something to keep your eyes on when you see it in the news. The title fees. Okay, those title fees, we talked about this last time, but basically you want title insurance for the fact that if you go buy a property and it's not actually insured from title, let's say as an example, I'm on title with Calvin, okay? And Calvin says, hey, give me $50,000. You're going to buy me out of this one, and I'm going to go buy another property. I said, great. Sounds good. I wire him, send him a check. He sends me a grant deed, signs off. I'm now the owner of the house, and he now gets his money to buy something else. Well, if we never went through title and we never had proper insurance for that transaction, then chances are when I go to sell that property, I'm going to need to get a hold of Calvin again. And we're going to have to go through a proper transfer and proper statement of information, a grant deed that's notarized, and then title is going to have to be triggered so that they get paid and they get insured. So that way the chain of title, which basically means the transfer from one person to the next, is actually going to be insured. Because if you go through, as you can imagine, and don't have insurance, and you're just buying and selling things without that, you could be buying someone's property that they never actually insured and checked that it closed. So it's the title company's title knows all. I say it, being in the real estate side, you open an escrow, you pull a title prelim, you're getting information, you're doing anything. Title is very significant in the terms of how they scrub their data. They're the things that power your sites like Zillow or CoStar or the commercial side or Redfin. Those are the people that have all the aggregates of the data. And so you want to make sure that if something looks too good to be true on the real estate side, you want to make sure you get proper title. There's plenty of deals I did not move forward with because I knew they weren't going to give me proper chain of title, right? So they looked really appealing. I probably could have made a lot of money on them, But if I couldn't get that proper insurance for title, then I knew that my money was going to be at risk. And so I didn't do it, right? So you want to be real careful of that. Your homeowners association fees. It's great to live in a great HOA, but anybody not in a good HOA has a pretty bad experience if the HOA is not ran correctly, if the HOA has certain rules and regulations that you might not be aware of. And then also sometimes there might be a premium or a transfer that the community gets paid when a home sale happens, right? So a lot of times it's a simple HOA documentation packet. It could be HOA fees that aren't paid. It could be a seller that can't pay them. It could be someone that could be distressed. You want to make sure that if you are buying an HOA, you know what it is, okay? And then the last thing is your property taxes. So your property taxes, this is huge in new developments, in urban areas, in redevelopment areas, newer areas, right? A lot of planned infrastructure. There's a company in Orange County called the Irvine Company. It's like the Disneyland of Southern California. They make sure it's master planned. They have parks and swimming zones and rec centers. Well, guess what? It's beautiful. You're going to pay for all of it. So your typical taxes are 1.02 or 0.8. So it's basically 1% of your purchase price. But in your property taxes, and we're going to go through this later on a different amount, is you could have supplementals or mellow roos, right? And that could be as much as a full percent. So you could be paying 2%. So if you look at some of these, Newport homes we were looking at over here, these are significant amounts. Let me see if I can pull one for you guys. Let's just, because it's a fun fact, right? We all want to live in a $12 million house. We just don't want that $12 million payment, right? So look at this payment, folks. $84,000 a month on $12 million. So you guys want to know, you guys want a goal set and have a little, what is this, a trout or a giant goldfish? If anybody's heard my goldfish stories, if not, Google them. I'm sure they're out there. This would be awesome to have your giant goldfish in your big Newport Beach pond here, but you're going to have to pay for it. So it's $84,000 a month. And the reason we want to do that and we want to show you is here is your estimated tax. Let's see if I can get this monthly for you guys. Here you go. So out of that 84,000, Zillow was kind enough to include your taxes in it, right? Which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I think they do now with 20% down payment here. So your principal, here's your down payment, 2.5 million, 30-year fixed at a 7.25%, right? So you can see their baseline. That's 68,000. That's just your mortgage, okay? Your property taxes on top of that is 1.07, okay? So see how I just said right now, that's just your base rate, okay? So if you're going to sell this to a client, they're like, great. So JT, my taxes are only going to be $11,000 a month. Ooh, well, Mr. and Mrs. Very Lucky Amazing Home Buyers, that's just your base taxes. I can guarantee you in Newport Coast, Crystal Cove, some of the places that this might be, you're going to have supplemental taxes. They're just not putting it for you. So my guess is they're 0.5, 0.6 all day long, if not a little bit more. So that could effectively increase this by another 50%. So you're not going to be paying $11,000 in taxes. You're going to be paying closer to $16,000, $17,000 in taxes. So see how that automatically impacts your $68K mortgage. So this is a cool dream building exercise, but it actually shows you how much property taxes can impact your current mortgage, right? And on a scale that we would normally deal with, let's say it's 10% of that average mortgage of $7,000, you're still going to be paying $1,100 to $1,700 a month on that type of a thing. And you can see homeowners insurance, HOA, it starts to stack up. So you might still do it, but you might be like, that's crazy. That's not going to happen. I got to find a fixer, right? So you want to make sure that you're truly informed and you're buying something that you know what you're going to get into, because the worst thing is going in and not making sure that you did that properly, right? And the property information, this is another huge thing too. And then I'm going to jump into questions here because I don't want to get cut off. Spend a little bit of time on some Q&A. Let's go through, come on, there we go. So the square footage, right? Why it's so important is because a lot of times your square footage can be calculated a little differently. So what you want is your living area. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a new one that we just did because it's better to show you than it is just to tell you. So this is one that I listed yesterday. And what I do with my clients is I do a domain to their, because I want to drive traffic to my own site. You know, I don't want to be a commoditized, you know, just realtor driving, you know, all my listings to somewhere else, right? So I include this on all the sellers that I have. It's customary for a lot of people in the industry to do. Nothing really out of the norm, but it really gives you the breakdowns. It's simple. It's all optimized for your phone. But one of the cool things about what we do at our firm is we do this thing called an iGuide, similar to a Matterport, similar to any type of a floor plan, but it's 99.9% effective in giving you your square footage, right? So what's really cool about this one is I'll just pull it up regularly. Justin Field Drive. So we're just going to do a normal Google search here, and we're going to pull up Redfin. And so on Redfin, it has just active 1637 as the square feet. Okay, that's interior. This is a tri-level home in Orange County, a beautiful master planned area. But what happens is right here, I can show you guys this, and these are some of the things that you can also see. Not a lot of people do these. They're not insanely common, but for the people that I guess have sold a lot or are sophisticated, do these types of things because you can now through a digital floor plan. Let's say you have a couch and that couch is 6 feet. I can pop it into that floor plan. I can go into, you know, right here. Sorry, I can go into this room and I can actually shoot this measurement stick right here. So I can actually see from this point to this point how long that is if I have a dining room table that's a little bit longer. So it's a really cool thing to give you access points that you can now start shooting and doing, right? So what I wanted to show you that was interesting as well, and why I actually do this and invest the money into it, is because, where did I go? Is because right here, it's going to give you the details. So when we talk about the interior of the building, that's basically what the appraiser is going to use to evaluate my price per square foot. So if we go back over here, I know this is an MLS thing, but I'm sure it's on this as well. This is going to spit out a price per square foot right here. Okay. So some of your more logical type people aren't going to just look at your comps. They're going to go, oh, what's your price per square foot? And they're going to go look at any type of home in the tract. Typically, your smaller home is going to have a higher price per square foot. Your larger home is going to have a lower. Reason for that is because people live in a certain amount of area. So if you have a 3-bedroom or a 4-bath, they're going to live in the main, 1,500, 2,000 square feet of their house. Their house is 4,000 square feet. There's a game room, there's a media room, there's a gym, there's an office. It might not be actual living area. It's just bonus area they're going to have. So that's going to have a huge impact on something that's 1,600 square feet. It's going to have a high price per square foot. But when we go back and we're actually offering it to our buyer pool, what a really cool how to get people into the story is showing them that it actually is 1727.8 square feet with a 99.9% accuracy, right? And so it's going to shoot out all these measurements that it does through CAD, which is an engineering program, and it's going to give you the first measurements on each floor, right? And then it's going to give you the main building, that's the garage, right? So the garage is going to be your unfinished area. So a lot of times people even convert their garages to a rec room or a game room. That's not considered living area. Your living area is what's permitted and on title, right? So in this case, why I thought it was a good example to show you is because the MLS shows this, title shows a little bit less, but the proof is in the pudding with my listing. I have the proof right here. I've already uploaded this into my supplements on the MLS. So when I start showing our buyer pool or other agents, I'm like, hey, you know, crazy thing, you get a bigger bang for your buck with this house. It actually shoots 1727. So they go, oh, really? I give that information either to my clients or the client that actually I'm trying to win over. And at that point, you know what they do? They go, wow, the next agent that's showing their buyers, they go, you know, funny enough, this one actually shows 1727. So you might get a little bit more area as we walk through and they go, oh, wow. So now they're showing a more engaging story on your listing than they would the next person. So we're always trying to differentiate and use anything we use, but that's right, real world, where you're going to actually see the difference between your square footage making a difference. Now, that could also happen in reverse. Your square footage could be a little bit lower. That's going to trigger me to have a conversation with my sellers to say, hey, did you know if this thing came in at maybe 1,400 square feet? What happened? Was there a wall that's closed up? Is there something I don't see? Did you make something that wasn't visible to the cameras, right? It's few and far that's happened, but that's going to trigger a little bit more of that detailed approach. So I look into a successful sale of this house, right? So that's where I'm putting real world examples. Next time we're going to talk about possession dates. We're going to talk about inclusions and exclusions. We're going to talk about possession date versus closing date. We're going to jump right back into this. I want to do some Q&A right now. Where are we at? Let me see if I can open this bad boy up. I know we had a few things that we're doing. Okay, here we go. Okay. Let me start here. Explain that last one on the notes. Let's see, plugged in. Spoon for the other half. Okay. So let's start here. So I recently sold my house. Lawyer gave us half about 3 weeks ago. We're still waiting on the other half. Okay. So that's awesome that you're pre-wired. So basically we're in a non-lawyer state. So when you're in a lawyer state, when you sell it, that might be something that is overlined on the process. Typically, we're in a table closing state. So you wait for all the closing to happen on one date, and then the very next date, all of those wires get processed from escrow, and then they all go out to all parties. So the first step that usually happens is the lender funds the loan and the buyer puts in their down payment. So all the funds are received to close. Then once those received funds are there and processed at escrow, escrow has any due bills, anybody that needs to be paid, and they basically balance their file. If they know that their incoming and their outgoing matches, meaning they're not shorted and meaning they don't have overages, that they're instructed on where that overage goes, then they're basically going to have instructions on where it goes. So when you did this, I'm guessing there was a disbursement of some sort post-closing. So that's where we're going to talk about possession and closing dates next time. But you can always DM me. You can always, hit me up on any of my socials. I'm happy to help. I'm always available for you guys. Definitely, these are going to be recorded. So I know they're going to be for you in JIFU, and they're going to be in the educator portal. And then also as a resource to you guys, just ongoing, this is something that I do. I have a YouTube channel. Calvin and I do a lot of good, awesome, JIFU things together. And, everybody obviously tries to keep up. But I do a lot of things where a lot of the training that I do is going to be a resource for you guys. Just because these are geared more towards our JIFU audience to make sure there's a really good platform ongoing. And we're going to be doing quite a few of these into the future. So let's see. Would you ever be in the field with us if we ever start processing a house? So yes, if I understand that correctly, if you're ever in the field or you're ever, I know as we kind of get going and we have more of a panel, I'm definitely growing my teams throughout the United States. That isn't my focus here. My focus is to educate, provide a ton of value, and just be a huge resource in the real estate space for you, in the residential space for you. So with that said, I'm always here to help you and guide you with whatever you need. So when it comes down to, hey, I'm dealing with this situation here. There's 20 years and thousands of properties that are locked up in this little brain. I'm happy to just point you in the right direction and give you the resources of who I've worked with. It could be developers, it could be people that are boots on the ground. A lot of times it's an inspector or it's an appraiser or it's a great resource of an agent that you can find in the area. And that's kind of a lot of times what holds us back. When it gets into, if you're actually choosing this as a career, I'm doing JIFU, I'm building that platform along with you guys, but this is also my career. So, the meat and potato of what I do in my day-to-day is this, and I use travel and I use all the things to have amazing conversations with people. So as we travel to the Vedanta, in 24 hours from now, we all go head out to Mexico. It's going to be something that, we're able to document what we're doing and really be able to help more people, but I'm happy to help with anything that you need. Hit me up at any time. And then the moment in real estate. Yes, notes. So let me circle back up with Calvin, Joshua, the whole team. Find out a good way. I'd love to be able to give you guys the resources. Kind of like what I do on my mastermind sessions is I love to see people's notes. I want to see, give me the chicken scratch. Give me how your brain works, right? Give me those things that you do where you start connecting the dots. And that's where some of these things that we do, I'm happy to provide for you. What we do have right now is what we're going to be able to do. And I'm sure we're going to have this in the portal, are these, let me click right here. Is this right here is going to be this ongoing resource center right here. And all of the links are interactive, right? So between going back in the resource and seeing what we do in terms of the recording, click it while you're doing something else, but then you can actually follow along either on your computer or your smartphone or whatever device. I know if I'm in the airport, Tony Robbins calls it no wasted time, no downtime, is that you're always doing something that's going to further along. I'm going to tell you guys one last thing because I'm taking flights in the next 24 hours, is there is a blood oxygen level. You learn more, absorb more, and are actually downright smarter at high altitude, right? So when people are going on in their watching their movies and things like that, I've actually learned that I want to mastermind. I want to, I'm always on flights and I travel. I kind of don't like to travel alone. So I'm always traveling with somebody, right? So we're masterminding, we're talking to people, I got my digital notepad. I'm going through some things. I'm on that Wi-Fi, really trying to make sure that I'm learning a little bit more just because I wanted to see if it worked. And I've done the last 3 flights that I had, and it actually, I don't know. I mean, they served alcohol on the flight. Maybe that had something to do with it, but it was good times. So I definitely learned a lot. And so I wanted to share that. So we'll see you guys next. Okay. What's the last one here? How long does filed warrants take when escrow is held for liens? Oh, okay. So to hit that one before we go. Okay. So right now, in any time of a depressed market, okay, so depressed market means high prices, high interest rates, typically lower inventory. Our job market is still strong, but everything is expensive. So what happens is, and I think a lot of you can attest to this, people are looking to really make sure that they're spending their money effectively. People aren't wasting as much. or people are working 3 times harder so they can live the life they want to live, right? I might be in that category, okay? And so for those of us that do any one of those two choices, what happens is people are going to start searching for money that's owed to them, okay? And so in a market where your real estate is consistently increased, debtors are buying old debt on property. So let's say a second mortgage, and this is really popular for people that make money as well as investors. They'll buy it at 10, 20 cents on the dollar, maybe $100,000 note that wasn't paid for 10 years. They'll buy it for 10, 20 grand. Boom, they're going to put a new lien on the property. Okay. There could be a contractor lien. There could be somebody that wasn't paid, right? There could be a dispute of the ownership of the title. There could be a judgment, right? All of those are going to be coming with their own set of risks. We're going to probably talk about that later in, also tax liens as well. Anything that's going to hit that title, that's another reason, blanketed statement, you want to have a title company truly look at it. You want to have a professional, someone know. I know some great ones in the business, but in your state, there's going to be some great ones. Plug into people that know. And then what you're going to want to do that people don't actually know, settle on those liens, right? If you haven't listed a property, settle on them before, call them out, make sure you're trying to negotiate. I've done it tons of times, right? Evictions, things like that, things that pop up. There's ways around 99% of stuff that you got to bake into it, but sometimes you just got to make sure it does it. And you could be in for a bit of a fight if nobody wants to budge. So anyways, guys, I'm at my time. I appreciate you guys. See you next week at the Vedanta. Hopefully, I'll be talking with Calvin and we'll get some great Wi-Fi there. Maybe I can rein him in and get him on the show here because we were partners in real estate for a really long time, and maybe it'd be fun to get him on. So anyways, I'll see you guys next week. If you need anything, hit me up anytime. It's at Justin Ty. Hit him on my DMs on IG. I don't know what the hell that Threads is all about, but I'm on it. So hit me up on Threads too. Have a blessed, amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.